Hey guys, welcome to the first lesson of the course. You already saw what we are going to do, this very nice effect of a Happy New Year animation, and well, this is actually made out of a vector file, and it's just as a bunch of path from Illustrator, which later we will turn into this 3D typography. And if you see the original file, if I hide the cover of the letter of the typography, you can see that it's made out of path from Illustrator. These are simple lines from Illustrator that I imported here, and later we will turn this into this and then into this great animation. So on Cinema 4D we won't call this path, but this is called splines. I don't know why it's called different, but well, the thing is that these are splines, and on Illustrator we know them as path. A path is simple. You just take your pen tool and just create some lines, and that's it. This is a path. Now, if we import this to Cinema 4D, we can turn them into a nice typography, and this is what I'm going to show you here on this lesson. So I have here, let me change this to RGB. Let me close this file, and now I'm going to create a simple path. I don't know, maybe I can even grab something like this, the spiral tool, or just make any path you want with the pen tool, something like this, like a big M. Alright, now I want to take this path and import this into Cinema 4D and turn it into typography made out of this path. So what I have to do is really simple, but pay attention because otherwise probably it won't work. Now save this file, go to File, Save, and here you can name this however you want. Let's call this Spline, and click on Save as an Illustrator file. But now on Illustrator options, make sure that the version is not the last version that you have. Let's make sure that it's on Illustrator 8, because somehow this works only with legacy formats of Illustrator. So I don't have the answer of why is that, but it's just save it as Illustrator 8, click OK, and you can click OK here. It doesn't matter because it's just a simple line, so you won't lose any information, any important information by saving it into a legacy format. So I have the spline file. Now go to Cinema 4D and click on File, and now instead of setting a new file, just click on Merge. Now open your spline file, and here make sure that Connect Splines is unchecked and the Group Splines is checked. The scale you can leave it as it is right now, and now click on OK, and you will have your spline right here. Remember that the spline is the same as the path on Illustrator. Now you can move this any way you want. Let's move around, and now you have this spline. Now the amazing thing here is that you can alter this spline however you want. If you click, right now we are on model mode, but if you click on point mode, you can select the points of the spline. You can see that the spline has the same points that you have on Illustrator. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and they are here as well. And if you click on them, you can move them. You can play around with the size. and the angle of those points. So that's pretty amazing, and you can see that now the spline is 3D. So you can do a lot of things working with a spline on the Cinema 4D. You can create a camera rail out of a spline. You can create arms of a character. You can create a lot of things, and one of the things that you can create is a nice typography that looks like it's handmade. So we have the spline, and how do we turn this into a 3D object? This is really simple. We're going to model to the objects, and we're going to create a capsule. We now have the capsule. Don't worry about changing anything on the capsule right now. Now we're going to the deformers. You can go to create deformer and choose a spline wrap, or just go to this point and select spline wrap. Now you will see this spline here, and you will take this object on the objects panel. You will take the spline wrap and drop it inside of the capsule. So the capsule will be the parent layer of the spline wrap. You can see that we have a little line here, which means that this spline wrap is a child of the capsule layer. Alright, now if we go to the spline wrap deformer on object panel, you can see that we have a lot of things, and one of the things is called a spline. So this means that this will wrap the capsule into any spline that you want, but you have to tell this wrap what spline will it use. So we have the spline that we use here. Let's call this, I don't know, random spline. And now go here to the wrap, to the spline wrap, and select your random spline and just drop it here where it says spline. Now you will have this shape. Of course it's a mess right now, but you can see that what this deformer does. It takes the spline and it turns the capsule. It will fill the spline with the object that it's the child of. For example, if I have a sphere, it will do the same with any other object that we tell them to. So this is pretty cool, but of course we have to change some things. For example, right now the axis is on plus X. We need this to be on the Y axis. Now you can see that it's taking a smoother shape, and we still have a lot of things to do, but it's going somewhere. Now if you want this to be smoother, because right now you can see that we have a lot of corners, we have this is pretty, looks really low poly. So if you want this to be like a really smooth path, we need to change things on the capsule object, not on the spline wrap. The spline wrap is done. We did everything that we could do on the spline wrap. Now it's time to play around with the capsule. So just play around, and one of the things that helps the most is to add some more height segments. You can see that the less segments that we have on the height, the worse the shape will look. So if we add a lot of segments, you can see that it's smoothing everything a lot. So we can play around with this. We can play around with the cap segments. You can see that it also helps a lot. And we can play around with the height. Right now the shape is really thin, so this can be good. It depends on what you want to do. If you want the tips of the path to be the same weight as this, you have to play around with the height until you have a shape like this. Now it looks like a little worm. So just play around. You can make many stuff. You can see that we have like a wire. We can create a wire with this. We can create stuff like we did before. And something like this is what we are going to do with the typography. You can see that it looks like a little worm, and that's exactly what I want to do with the typography. So just play around until you have a shape that is smooth enough. Now remember that the more segments that you add, the longer it will take to render. So don't go crazy either with this, because if your computer doesn't have enough power, it's going to probably take a long time to render this file. So be careful with this. Well, that's how the splines, and that's how we create stuff like this on Cinema 4D. Now it's time to create the Happy New Year typography on Illustrator. We will make this very random. You can see that they are simple shapes, so we will create them pretty easy on Illustrator. So see you in the next lesson.